So you have heard of the Poop app.
I have heard it.
And just so people aren't trying to adjust their speakers in their trucks, I did say poop, P-O-O-P.
Yep.
There's an app called the Poop app. Interesting fact that the girls at the dance studio, again, I'll say the girls at the dance studio all use the Poop app.
These are all high school girls, yes.
Interesting, and they all think it's funny.
It is a blast to them.
Extremely funny. And what's interesting is Rebecca was telling me they get achievements. I took
Badges.
poop badges. I took a picture of the poop badges. One is, I didn't even read it, and I am. One's got a picture. One of the badges is an owl, and they're called night poopers.
I guess if you like to post your poop at night, it would consider you a night pooper.
Another earned badge is called the, it's a picture of a flower. It's called the fertilizer. If you've dropped at least 10 poops. Now, before I go on to the badges, the reason I'm doing this is because what I thought was interesting about the Poop app is, and by the way, they're not a sponsor of the show.
Nope.
But what I thought was interesting was when I looked at their app, in disbelief, of course, I thought, oh, look at the map. So, like, if they go into a Walmart or in another town, they got these little turds on their map. Well, I thought, truckers, a 48-state trucker, I mean, he can, like, claim to have pooped in every state if he does.
I mean, it would be definitely something. I mean, it would help narrow it down, too. I mean, if you think about it, they could sit there and they could see where they poop more. I mean, then they could say it's either the water or some of the food or, I don't know, maybe with the height, like maybe how high up in the mountains they are. I don't know. I mean, it's definitely something that is different.
I mean, to us it's comical, but like they're pretty serious about their. I would never have thought teenage girls.
Yep, about a bunch of high school girls are.
It's just
some of the words they use. I mean, I would have never thought they were a bunch of high school girls.
I was amazed. So the other badges that I guess Rebecca has earned, I'm not even sure what that's a picture of. Oh, it's a smiley face with a mask over it.
Smelly.
Yeah. It's called the quarantine pooper. It says pooped 14 days in the same place. Another one is a clapping hands called the friendly pooper.
I don't know. I it's flabbergasting, not gassing, but gasting. I guess to think that you would think back at like Beavis and Butthead. That was the comical time of that era, and the boys used to think it was like hilarious, and then it would be like different it would gradually go to different types of things. Now, high school girls, it's poop apps.
Well, my whole thing was, I thought, well, if a bunch of truckers start downloading the Poop app, maybe they can write in and we can, I'm just kidding. So,
I think it might. I mean, honestly, I thought it was pretty cute, though. The idea of, if a driver does have the app, they can actually log where they've left them.
Well, see,
logs.
That's what I was going to say. If they design one for truckers, they could call it Log Your Logs.
Oh, really?
Get it? Your logbook. Logging logs.
I don't know. It's just a bunch of crap to me.
I wanted to have a funny moment with this one, but at the same time, I just can't find myself laughing. I'm just disappointed in today's youth.
That's the humor right there.
I mean, that's like the epitome of today's youth. But anyways, if you do download the Poop app, my guess is it's free. If all those girls are using it, it's probably free.
Yeah, it is. It's a free app. I heard Kaylani say that you could pay like $1.99 and have like faces, like different style poops or something like that, faces on them, like
Right. Oh, poop emojis, I think I heard her say.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. Actually, she paid good money for those.
It's $1.99.
Oh, this is $1.99?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because her mom goes, you paid $1.99 just to have faces on them. And she goes, yeah. She looked at me and shook her head like.
Yeah. I just thought it was amazing. Mm-hmm. Anyways, I think it's probably time to get back to trucking. What do you think?
Let's get off this track.
Oh, that's, that crap was funny. Oh, no crap. All right, let's move on. Let's take a break. If you're a driver looking for a new trucking job, check out NCI. NCI offers the following: new Kenworth T680s, competitive wages, solo, team, and students welcome, plus a full benefit package for you and your family. Check them out today at 888-311-7076. That's 888-7076. And tell them Talk CDL sent you. Hey drivers, are you sick of watching the other drivers bypass the weigh station while you are held up going through yourself? Well, download Drivewyze today at www.drivewyze.com. That's DRIVEWYZE.com, and start bypassing the scales yourself. If you're a small carrier, an owner-operator, or even a big fleet looking for something better, check out Drivewyze today. And remember, there's no equipment, no transponders needed when you're using Drivewyze. Check them out for a free download at www.drivewyze.com. Drivers, if you're looking for a local, home, everyday driving job, apply with Carter Lumber today. They have positions for Class A and Class B local drivers. They can take experienced drivers, students, and non-CDL drivers. With over 160 locations, chances are they have a position for you. So go to carterlumber.com/talkcdl and apply today. Again, that's carterlumber.com/talkcdl. Thank you. Truck Parking Club is a network of instantly reservable daily and monthly truck parking locations throughout the U.S. Truck Parking Club helps connect truckers to truck parking locations throughout the U.S. via truckparkingclub.com. Our networks is made up of property owners that have locations adequate for truck parking to list on the platform. This includes trucking companies, storage companies, CDL schools, trailer leasing companies, real estate investors, truck parking operators, and more. Go to truckparkingclub.com today. All right, we are back. You know what? I would imagine what happens if you can't go? Would you get a constipated emoji? Just threw that in there before we move on.
I don't know. I would say that, you probably could. I mean, it would look like, well, that's a movie, a Disney movie. They wouldn't think the same thing, but it would probably look like one of those, like where something looked like it was like dying,
Yeah. Hey, listen up. Listen to this. I wanted to mention something. I was talking to a guy. Now, this is alleged. I'll say alleged or whatever you want to say. But this guy's pretty truthful guy. He used to work for UPS. Right? in their office, and he said, and this is just for truckers, kind of an FYI, in case you're ever looking to go drive for UPS. I was told that every accident that they have is preventable. You hear that?
I don't think every accident they have.
Now listen, this guy that I talked to is a huge, spot-on good source. He said, because he worked in that department, he said in his 10 or 15 years there, he said he might have been able to count on one hand where the accident by the company was found non-preventable.
All right, now that you clarified it, I must have had a
What did you think?
dumb moment. I don't know. I just was like, it was like, I don't know, where they were saying like everything they have is just preventable. I was like, no, I don't think so. I think someone could hit them and it not be a preventable.
Listen to this. He told me a story. He said there was a driver making a left in an intersection. He was at a red light. The light, you get the arrow. The two lanes go left. You get the arrow. Mm-hmm. He gets the arrow, and he's already in the turn, and a guy comes barreling through the intersection in a big old Chevy and hits the side of the guy's trailer, right?
Mm-hmm.
The guy was doing 70 miles an hour, ran the red light, smashed into the UPS guy, and the UPS driver was found at fault by the company.
Why would they do that?
Because he should have been able to see the guy coming.
But he was already in the turn. But I mean, if you're already in the turn, you can't see the guy you don't know if he's going to slam the brakes on you. That's a judgment call on knowing whether or not someone else is going to do something.
Now, this guy hasn't worked for them for at least probably 12, 14 years. So I'm not saying that they haven't changed their policy. I'm just saying this was, a few years back, this policy. I'm not saying it was in a policy. But anyway, so he goes on to tell me the guy was in the hospital. He had to get a little bit of rehabilitation. 6 months later, the guy comes back. His first day back, they fired him because of the accident. So the guy's out on out on light duty or out on workers' comp, whatever. Comes back, the day comes back, terminated for preventable, deemed by them. Now, if a state police or anybody else, they would have said, no, this guy had the green and he was, who knows? You don't see him. I mean, I can understand because one of the rules we have in Florida is when the light turns green, count to 3. Because people don't stop at the red lights here in Florida. I mean, they're just barreling through. So he went on to tell me this. He said, if you get hit while parked, preventable.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. See, they're taught, right? And I don't know if FedEx does the same thing because, a lot of them are delivery. They deliver a lot of houses. He said they're taught when they park you in, don't give you an out because a lot of people try to squeeze out and end up catching the UPS bumper, the side of the vehicle with their car, and therefore have cost the company a lot of money because in the long run, UPS ends up catching the bill for it. So these guys are taught when you are making a delivery, whether it's tractor trailer or it's their little those vans, park and you're parking somebody in, any cars that you have parked in, make sure they're fully parked in to where they will not attempt to get out because it's your fault if they hit you. Crazy.
That's a crazy way of looking at it.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it really is crazy, but
I'm with you because to me, the guy that does the hitting is normally at fault, right?
That's what we're told. That's what we're trained to think.
Right.
I wonder if you're in a parking lot and you're parked, like say at a truck stop or somewhere where it's, where you're not making, quote, the delivery per se, and you got hit there, what would their reasoning be to try and claim it as a preventable?
I don't know that. I didn't really discuss that with them.
No, I'm just curious, thinking if they're thinking that way out of the bubble. I'm just wondering.
Right. No, I mean, I'm with you. I don't at all see the logic. But you know what's funny? Partly I do see the logic. Like the guy going through the intersection, right? Most people would deem the car coming through the intersection at fault. But if you would have looked, you would have seen him coming.
Yeah, no, I don't.
But
you can't make that judgment call. Yeah. You're turning. You got the green light. You can't make a. You don't know if that person's going to be going through a red light.
Well, if he's doing 70 mile an hour, you should be able to see somebody barreling down the road if you're paying attention. But the more you think about it, though, what if it's pretty heavy traffic and he's just zipping along traffic that you can't see? You know what I mean? I'm 100% agreement that the guy running the red light is his fault. All I'm saying is, looking at it from their angle, I could see why they're saying what they're saying, that all accidents are preventable. It could have been prevented. That's their policy. At least it was.
I'm glad I don't work there.
Would you change the policy?
I don't know. You know that one, I think... there's a company that has it. I know I've seen it on Overdrive, where they might be the actual one that has it, where it's they come up with, they don't come up with the scenario, but what they do is an accident that happens, the driver can petition the FMCSA to review it to see if he's deemed at fault or not. I wonder if drivers now, if UPS still had something like that still at hand, if there's drivers that are petitioning the FMCSA to review the accidents to see what they have to say. Because I wonder if the FMCSA gets involved and they find that the company was wrong in their analysis, if it changes anything. You know what I mean?
It's a good question. I don't know. I don't even know much about what you were just talking about, to be honest with you. But I would tell you that if I was a driver at that company, and because damn well, I mean, I would guess UPS probably one of those companies that has the side cameras, the back camera, all kind of angles would be I could be wrong, but I would want to get every angle camera showing that accident. And I probably would fight it. I would fight it. If you deem me at fault for somebody hitting me while I'm parked, I'm probably going to argue that one with the company.
Yeah, I would. I mean, I could see, I don't know. I could see that where, I would argue it too. It's like, I'm parked. I'm not even there. How can you hit me? Now, I could see if you how sometimes you'll see where people are parked, but they got usually you see it with a really big truck in a smaller parking spot, where they're sticking out. We've seen that. I could see someone like that getting clipped, if a person's coming around the turn and they can, kind of get a little clipped when they're sticking out of the parking spot, something like that, I don't know. You can't really miss that big brown truck. And the accident in the intersection, that actually bothers me more than any of them, of how you to assume that, you're asking a driver to know what someone else is actually going to do, and that they're not going to stop, that they're going to run the red light, they're not going to stop. I don't know. I don't think that's right for you to be able to, as a company or anybody else, make that judgment call that they're supposed to know what someone else is going to do.
See, and that's one of the things that bothers me is judgment calls. You know what I mean? You're talking about, there's certain judgment calls that a cop or a safety director or somebody can make that is not fair. And once they make that judgment, you play hell to get it changed.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I'll give you an example. A cop in heavy traffic says a car cuts a trucker off, and a cop just looks over and he goes, "Oh, following too close," and he pulls a trucker over and says he's following too close. Mm-hmm. And at that moment, the trucker was close, but the trucker wasn't at fault.
Yeah,
yes.
because someone else cut him in front of him, and that's what caused it, was him being cut off when he had plenty of space. And that's where you could say, oh, well, the truck driver actually had a lot of space in front of him, enough to where a vehicle could fit in there in the meantime. You know what I mean?
But I've had a lot of truck drivers tell me that over the years, literally, that they got a ticket right when they're going by a cop at that very moment when something happened because of somebody else, and the cop looked over after the four-wheeler did something stupid.
Mm-hmm.
So, here's another thing though. I've actually had truck drivers tell me that they've talked to the cop and said, look, I have it on dash cam. Would you like to see it? And the cop says, no, you'll have to take it to court. Mm-hmm. It's like, so you're telling me, you're sitting here, you're making a judgment, right? To get points, of course, but you're making a judgment, and I'm telling you that here's proof that I'm innocent, and you don't want to hear that. To me, that's an injustice. Anyways, I think we're kind of beating it a little bit hard, this subject. I just wanted to bring that up because, there'll be times during the week somebody will say something to me, and I'll be like, that's crazy. I got to mention that on the podcast, mm-hmm. And I just thought it was crazy. So anyways, hey, if you're a truck driver that was unjustly found at fault of an accident, I would love to hear about it. I would love if you got pictures, and if you've got, I'll post it. And if you would like us to talk about it, I would love to hear your story.
Yeah, definitely. Send us something that,
Yeah, I would love to hear your story, and I'd love to bring it up on the podcast. Even if you don't want to come on the podcast, I would absolutely enjoy talking about it on the podcast. Moving on. So moving on, interesting week. Talked to this company this week. They were telling me they're a mid-sized carrier, okay? And they have an orientation where they hire new drivers every week, okay? Mm-hmm. And they had 10 drivers in orientation. Technically, I think 9. I think it was 9. 4 of them, it looks like 4 of them failed the drug screen.
Wow.
Seriously, that is insane numbers. Almost 50% of your class failed the drug screen.
It's not a very good ratio.
Well, it's interesting. It's an interesting topic. I know you've got something that goes along with this, but I wanted to bring something up that I was reading, and we had mentioned it before. Okay, but come November, listen to this. Come November, over 160,000 drivers with a CDL are at risk of losing their CDL.
Really?
Yes. Why? Ask me why.
Why?
Because their their CDL is under, here, let me read it to you. It says, truck drivers, come on, Troy, with your fat fingers. It says, truck drivers with a, quote, prohibited status in the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration Drug and Alcohol Clearinghouse have just a few months to act before state licensing agencies begin removing their commercial driving privileges in November. Do you understand? Did you hear what they're... See, when you go into the clearinghouse, you have a title. And if it's just green light all the way, you're good to go, right? You good.
Completed all of the process.
No, if it's green light, you might not have ever failed a drug screen or anything.
Okay.
Just everybody has a clearinghouse now, okay?
Right.
Most people do. And so when a driver is applying with a company, the guy has to sign a release stating you can go in and look at my clearinghouse, okay? Mm-hmm. And he goes into the clearinghouse and accepts it. He has to log in and he accepts the company to go into his clearinghouse because the drug and alcohol thing is, it's personal and, drivers...
Privacy Act type of thing, yeah.
Correct. So anyways, but some of them, when you go in there, if they had failed the drug screen, okay, for whatever reason, failing, it's all going to get marked down as prohibited.
Oh.
Meaning, if it says prohibited, and this is why they're doing this. If it says prohibited, you still have a valid CDL. Even though the CDL, you're prohibited from driving. The only way people know that is by the clearinghouse, not by a CDL check, or if you run someone's MVR at the motor vehicle, okay, or at the DMV. When you pull someone's license, it'll say valid or invalid, right? Well, right now, up until this November, a person could have failed a drug screen, have prohibited marked in clearinghouse, but his CDL is still valid. Okay, when you run it. And this is the reason they're doing this. Many trucking companies that don't give a flying rat's butt, okay, will run a guy's CDL and they don't care if he had failed a drug screen. They'll still hire him because they want the driver.
Right.
So now what they're doing now is if you fail a drug screen and you don't go through the return to duty status, this is where it's going to hit them. If you don't go through the process and you are marked prohibited starting in November, and I'm still trying to figure something out, and I'll bring it up here in a second.
Okay.
Starting in November, everybody that hasn't started the process of the return duty status will have their CDL automatically downgraded to like a regular driver's license. So when you go to apply for a job, now it will not be a valid CDL. Okay, so the companies that were hiring these guys, without them doing the return to duty, because I've talked to truckers that have failed the drug screen and they're working, and I'll say to them, "Did you go through the return to duty status?" And you know what they tell me? A lot of them, and a lot of them are a lot of Chicago companies. Okay, there's thousands of them up there. They said a lot of drivers will say, "Yeah, the guy hired me, but I've been there for a year and he's never done the randoms." And see, the other thing is when you fail a drug screen, your SAP, your substance abuse provider, is supposed to provide the new trucking company with 6 random dates that the driver doesn't know about. And so a lot of the SAP people are not, it doesn't seem like they're as educated either. So, or the driver's just getting hired by the trucking company, and the trucking company's not requesting it, maybe from the SAP driver. I don't know. But the bottom line is, if you fail a drug screen, some of these companies have hired you, and you're working right now. You're one of the 163,000 drivers, and your company has failed to get you started in the return to duty status. You're going to lose your license in November.
I mean, I could see it. For a while, they've been trying to make this change. I mean, they went through this process of putting the clearinghouse out there to prevent drivers slipping through the cracks.
Correct.
In the
Exactly.
So to uphold that portion of it, this is the steps that they now have to take because of people still slipping through the cracks. So it's like they are doing one thing and they're still finding ways to get around it. So I don't want to say I'm glad, because some of those that are in the SAP program, they're not little offenses. They're, major narcotics that they're flunking with, or, meth, or something that's really, something that you really have to take in consideration of being not using while you're driving type of thing.
Listen, I'm going to tell you something. I don't care. Like everybody argues that marijuana is legal, and I've met drivers that have failed it for coke and all this other stuff. You're crapping on your CDL. If you're going to crap on your CDL, you don't belong. You don't deserve your CDL. I don't care.
Well, if you're not going to go through the SAP program and you're not going to do what's legally meant to do to keep your CDL good, then you really don't care for it.
Right.
So the fact that you've already done drugs, not going through the program the way you're supposed to, you're showing us that you don't care. Me
personally, by you doing drugs, you don't care.
Yeah.
If you're willing to get high and drive 80,000 pounds down the road, okay, well then you know what? So be it. All right. If you lose your license, you lose your license. But the bottom line with it is, if there's a lot of guys that are screwed because they can't get anybody to give them a chance so they can start the return to duty status right now because of the industry way it is, with not as much freight as people need to where everybody's going to get a job.
Right.
So those drivers, they have a few months to find somebody to get started on the return to duty status. So now here's the next question. After November, okay, you're still going to have drivers that fail the drug screen. So they are going to be automatically marked prohibited. So how long, my question is, how long is the FMCSA going to give these guys to start on the return to duty status?
So what's the time frame? Like, is it 30 days? Is it,
Right.
they gave them all this time frame for the other ones.
Correct.
What's your time frame now?
Yeah, because you can't, it's almost, you're almost eliminating a driver for life if, and I'm not saying a guy doesn't deserve a second chance.
Right.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, okay, let's say a guy fails a drug screen in December after this new rule has been kicked in. So he fails it. There's got to be this time limit to where he starts the randoms and he goes through the SAP program, because, to downgrade his CDL automatically, now it would be impossible for him to do the return to duty status while having a downgraded CDL, because now nobody's going to be able to hire you to give you the chance. You see what I'm saying? Like, without your CDL, no one could bring you in and say, okay, I'm going to do the random and get you started, unless somebody willing to hire you once he drug screens you is the start of the return to duty, and they will automatically upgrade the CDL. That may be, and I may have answered the question, I'm not sure, but that sounds to me more applicable.
The one thing I will say that might have something else to do with it is what drug you failed it for, because some of them they're in the system for days, where others are in the system for
a month.
Right. So you can't have that restriction be, okay, well, you have 2 weeks to start, or you have this time frame. It might, maybe it has to do with what type of drug was in your system. Maybe a prescription drug, well, you're on this prescription drug. You are supposed to be on it for the next 2 weeks. We can't start you on that process until after that's done, over with, and you're not taking that anymore, because you cannot use that as an excuse now, type of thing.
I believe alcohol, you can't drive a truck for 8 hours after you drink. This is the rule, right? And then narcotics, I believe, are somewhere around 72 hours, right? I mean, I wouldn't want to take the chance at 73 hours to take a piss test. But what I'm getting at is, I'm going to make a statement about this. And marijuana depends on how much you've used, upwards of, they say, 30 days or more that it stays in your system. And if they do hair follicles, 90 days, because they're only supposed to clip off, I believe, an inch. There's a certain measurement they're allowed to clip off, which is still not a legal test, but some companies use it, which is weird. Okay, what I'm getting at is this. How unfair, and this is where I will side with a guy. In a lot of states now, marijuana is legal, but federally it's not for anybody driving a truck trailer. So truckers know, they're not stupid. They know that for you to have it in your system is illegal, so you're taking a chance by doing it, and you might not have even been high. I believe the guy that invents the test that says he is of the legal limit. Yes, he smoked marijuana last week, but obviously he's not high anymore because it only lasts for so many hours. The weed does, right? So therefore, the guy smoked it in a legal state where it was legal recreation. I mean, if it's legal, it's legal. Again, but truckers know right now it's not. But I believe somebody's going to invent a test, and he's going to become like a wealthy man, because it's going to change the industry.
I wonder if it'd be like, how you have your pool test? It tells you how much salt water's in our pool and stuff. If it's something like that, then
well, it's the same with or alcohol. When you blow into a breathalyzer, they know how, are you legally drunk or are you legally not? They just don't have that test for weed and coke and all that other stuff. Not that in fact, to be honest with you, coke is not even legal, but prescription pill is, if you're at home and you had taken a pain pill, but they see that it's in your system. Right now, if it's in your system, you're done. You fail.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
And that's why I say I feel no sorrow for anybody that's doing it, for the simple reason, okay, they knew. Okay, you can't say you didn't know.
Right.
So with that being said, you have an article that goes into, the next couple minutes here. And they're trying to take marijuana and reschedule it, right?
Correct.
Scheduled, what was it? A schedule what?
It's now a Schedule 1, but they want to move it to a Schedule 3.
And you said the article goes on, and what they're really trying to say is that if a driver needs it for pain, that he can get a prescription. This is what they're trying to do, right?
What their goal, I guess President Biden is trying to make this, try to make history, is what they started out by saying, by changing it from the Schedule 1 to Schedule 3. And the Attorney General is already getting involved, and they're trying to get this because I guess there has been cases where taking it for pain, they show that certain ways they're taking it, whether it be in a dropper form, in a gummy form, like certain ways and a certain amounts, that it's actually working for pain for people, but it doesn't interfere with their cognitive, the way they would do anything else. So what they're trying to do is evidently change this, but they're saying it's going to take a long period of time. It's not going to be done in a matter of a few weeks or even a few months, that this could be actually a couple of years, that it actually goes through and changes that marijuana in a specific way, as long as it's in a doctor's written script, that you need it for such and such, like it has to be really thorough, that they might allow truck drivers to use it.
Okay. Well, again, and just so everybody knows, we're not in any support of any political party on this show. We may have our own personal views who we support, but, I just want everybody to know we're not, when we mention presidents, we're not saying yay or nay.
No, it just, the way the article read it, just that's who started it. So that's why I was just reading it.
Right. Yeah. I'm just letting everybody know, because, half your audience votes one way, half the other audience votes the other way. And if you get them talking about it, they start fighting over it.
Oh yeah, no, that's not.
You mentioned this president, you must support him.
No.
We're not saying, we don't talk about politics on this show. So,
no.
and the only reason I had to bring that up is because there are a few Karens out there that will whine because you mentioned that president. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, we're but anyways, I don't want to beat a dead horse. But yeah, so going back to this rule, they're trying to make it a lower schedule drug, and they're also trying to make it to where medically you might be able to get it and use it. So I've seen some truck drivers that are on psych meds, and it's prescribed, and I've seen them driving with certain companies. I'm serious.
Well, that's what they're saying with this, that the cannabis that they're finding can help with not just the pain, but with anxiety and so forth. And they're finding that it might be something that will be better for them to take than some of the other prescription drugs that are out there, and they're trying to change it that way. But they do say here, the last remark, that it says, drivers stay away. If you hear a rumor about weed becoming legal or rescheduling pushback, you're more than likely legally pull a reefer of marijuana-infused soda across country than to pull a joint without fear of career repercussions for the next few years. So, point being, even though they're starting to try and do this, it's going to take time for it to actually happen. So don't just jump on the bandwagon thinking that you're all good.
Right. You said it's going to take a couple of years, but it looks like, just to even see if they clear it. Look, guys, bottom line with this is, this edition of Talk CDL, we've talked a lot about drivers that, have failed the drug screen, and certain drugs, whether it's legal or not, or, bottom line with this is, guys, I mean this sincerely, you have a CDL in your pocket, okay? Some drivers have never gone to college, Ruth Ann, or trade schools or anything like that, but they went and they got educated in tractor trailer driving, and they are a professional driver now. So you go and you ruin that CDL by doing drugs. Guess what? what are you going to do with the rest of your life now? That's my whole think, guys. It ain't worth getting stoned. It's not worth it. I promise you. You know how many drivers I talked to, Ruthann, that said, I hadn't done it in 10 years. I was at a Christmas party, smoked weed, came back from work on my first trip out. Guess what? Random. My name came up for a random, and I was screwed. First time, I was depressed, and I smoked a little at Christmas, and now I failed the drug screen. I'm serious. I've had, you know what I'm thinking about with those drivers, because I've heard that story a lot. You know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking their wife or somebody called in and told on them. So, I mean, it's like all these guys that say that, they say, well, I haven't smoked it in years. One time, and I get popped for a random. Almost sounds like somebody ratted on you. Be careful who you smoke it around. Well, actually, don't smoke it. Don't smoke it.
I don't know. Either someone's telling on them, someone's being a tattletale, or they really just, it wasn't that first time they smoked it. They just finally got caught.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm just saying though. Sometimes some people sound like they're being honest. So, anyways, that's
An honest trucker.
An honest trucker. There's actually a lot of honest truckers out there. I don't have a beef with these guys that fail a drug screen. My thing with them is I don't feel sorry for you, because everybody that does it, right? When you put that up to your mouth, you're in the back of your mind, you're already saying, I hope I don't get a random next week. I hope I'm good for the next 30 days. You're already saying that to yourself. So you're already saying, I'm going to take a chance.
Already. It's not a surprise. It's not, you can't use the I didn't know.
Can you imagine, though? Like, I already know the look on my face if I smoked weed and they went, Troy, you got a random stop at the next Concentra. I'd be like, what? I got a what? I mean, literally, it would be like, shit, I knew it. That's exactly like the I knew it factor, slapping yourself upside the head because you know damn well it's coming for you. Anyways, moving on. That's all I've got this week, Ruthann. Do you have anything? And by the way, this podcast is going up a day late, so we appreciate everybody that listens.
Very much, we appreciate it.
Do you have anything?
Word of the day.
What is the word of the day?
I'm going to give it to you.
You want me to turn it up? Go for it.
Avidity.
Avidity?
Avidity.
Interesting.
Avidity. Pretty neat word, isn't it?
Yeah, avidity. What?
Avidity.
What is avidity?
Extreme eagerness or enthusiasm.
Interesting. Give me a sentence.
The doctor... Wait, hold on.
The doctor?
No, there's two different ones. That and then the other one is a biochemistry, the overall strength of binding between an antibody and an antigen. And that's where I started reading. They flipped it and they flipped the sentences. So Kate binged the Netflix series with an avidity she rarely showed for anything.
Okay, so she was enthused.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're out of here.
Peace.
Peace. Praise the Lord.